Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 1974th day of the uninterrupted webinar series of the International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy. Here, we unite physicians, teachers, students, and other well-wishers of homeopathy on a global platform. I'm Arya. I'm a third-year student from ANSS Homeopathic Medical College, Kottayam, Kerala, and I'll be your moderator today. And today, our guest is Dr. Sapna Gupta, consultant physician at Guener Homeopathic Center, Gwalior. She is the secretary of HMAI, Gwalior, and she recently presented her research paper in LMHI 2025, organized in Netherlands. And today's topic, from a homeopathic viewpoint, is really relevant, especially in the recent times. That is about, from a homeopathic perspective, trauma is not limited to the event itself, but also to the individual's reaction to it. And homeopathy recognizes that two people, when exposed even to the same trauma, will react differently according to their, depending on their emotional stability, their constitution, and coping mechanisms. So, in such cases of post traumatic stress disorders or PTSD, homeopathy addresses the disturbed vital force, helping the individual to process the shock, fear, grief, or suppressed emotions associated with the trauma. And that is today's topic that we'll be dealing. Dr. Sapna Gupta will be talking on the role of homeopathy in post traumatic stress disorder. The dais is all yours, ma'am. You can start.
Thank you very much.
Please adjust your camera a little more, Dr. Sapna Gupta. Little more. We can
I
see.
think the desktop it shows limited stuff.
Okay.
Okay, is my screen visible to everyone?
Visible. It's visible.
Okay, right. So today we'll be speaking on role of homeopathy in post-traumatic stress disorders. Let's start. In the words of Dr. Hahnemann, the most inestimable treasures are impeccable consciousness and good health. Love to God and self study provide one, and homeopathy provides the other. Well, PTSD is not new, but the names have been changing. The wounds are as old as the war, like earlier during the Civil War. Those cases of traumas, they were associated and called as soldier's heart. And then after First World War, this changed to shell shock. And even after Second World War, it came to be known as battle fatigue. And after 1980, it has been coined the term of PTSD by the American Psychiatric Association. Generally, people believe that PTSD is what happens on the battlefield. Then only soldiers develop PTSD, but the truth is that it can affect any person as such. PTSD is supposed to develop immediately after a traumatic event, but it is not so. It can develop even after days, months, or years. We will be discussing a case on PTSD in which such symptoms appear after a couple of years. And PTSD is not a sign of weakness. The person who is showing these symptoms is a weak person. So you cannot label him as a weak person. The person is not able to cope. That is the situation, but it is not the case that the person is a weak person. And obviously, PTSD is treatable through various homeopathy options as well as other options. Today, now we know that this trauma can affect not only the people who are there in the battlefield, but after COVID, we do understand that a lot of humanity is suffering from PTSD owing to what they have seen during the COVID era. The first responders, they can be the firefighters, they can be the ambulance drivers, or the emergency care providers. When they are exposed to tragedy daily, this trauma, if it affects them prolonged, then it can be termed as PTSD. This trauma can also relate to survivors of abuse or assault. It can relate to victims of car crashes, any accidents you may have had, any natural disasters that have occurred. even in case of homes, it can be not related to an accident as such, but the trauma the child goes through in an abusive home. Maybe the father has been more a dominating type, or the mother has some other problems. So all those things can also happen and convert to PTSD on a later stage. And anyone who has been overwhelmed by experiences that they felt as terrorizing or they were inescapable, that also can convert to PTSD. Now, let us try and understand what it exactly is. It is a mental health condition that is caused by an extremely stressful or terrifying event, either being part of it or witnessing it. So, a particular, as the moderator today started very aptly, that a particular trauma cannot be stressful to one person, but it can be extremely stressful to the other. I'll give an example of a patient. The patient, this was a child who had a problem of headache, and the problem was that this particular child was scolded in front of his classmates. Since then, he developed the problem of headache. There was another child who was abused or slapped in front of others, but nothing happened to him. So for a particular person, that particular event may be stressful, or maybe the person is used to it. So it depends on individual as such. Now here are certain examples of trauma. If we find out, whether it's an accident at your place, a traffic accident, or an accident at work, anything can transform into trauma if the intensity is so, or if the person is not able to process it. It can be in the form of violence, it can be in the form of witnessing any violence as such. And as we have just stated, any health emergency, a natural disaster, life threatening situations. So, all that can be counted as a trauma for a particular person. Now, what can be some symptoms which help to identify? We'll discuss in detail later on, but basically, they can include some flashbacks a person may have, any form of nightmares the person may have, or very severe anxiety the person is having after being in a trauma or after witnessing a particular thing, and he's unable to control the thoughts related to that event. So, many things can happen. They basically are something which you can identify from. So because of those particular exposure, what can happen is a person may become hyper vigilant. If you've had an accident, or maybe there was an intruder in your house, so every day that particular person will be more vigilant. Maybe somebody else is coming to attack. So hyper arousal, hyper vigilance. So this can happen to a person, or the person after a trauma may feel negative thoughts, negative mood. He or she doesn't feel or have a desire of living as such. So in severe cases, suicidal tendencies can also happen. And some people, they may re-experience what happened. They still have that vivid memory. Again, they have flashbacks. They experience it as it is happening again and again. And another point is avoidance of reminders. If supposing a particular person had trauma related to a particular public function or maybe a social gathering, so that particular person will try and avoid going to that place again and again as a case of avoidance. Now let's see the statistics. Around 3.9% of the world population has had post-traumatic stress disorder at some stage in their lives. So that doesn't mean that everybody is going to develop PTSD. So most people, they do not develop PTSD. If you have the support of your family, your friends following the potentially traumatic event, it can reduce the risk of developing PTSD. See, more women are affected by PTSD than men. Women are prone to overthinking. They keep on thinking things, they keep on brooding about things, and they are emotionally very sensitive. So it has been seen that more women are affected. And obviously, there are effective treatments for PTSD, it is not incurable. Now, who are the people who are at risk? Trauma, anybody or everybody generally faces at a particular time in his or her life. But everybody doesn't have PTSD. So, what are some things which can help in reducing the risk is severity of the trauma. If the trauma is more severe, it was very severe, then the case is having the higher risk of PTSD. Repeated exposure to trauma. Those people who have experienced multiple traumatic experience. So those multiple traumas are going to pile up and then they are more likely to develop PTSD. Those people who do not have a strong support system, not having much friends, your family doesn't support, you're not able to communicate properly. So that can, increase the risk of having PTSD. And in those individuals who are already suffering, battling anxiety, depression, they are more susceptible to PTSD because of their prone mental health situation. Now, before we start the case, first of all, we need to understand the criteria. On the basis of these criteria only, we can define whether it's a clear-cut case of PTSD or no. Now, this criteria, DSM-5 criteria, has been introduced in 2022. So, according to this criteria, first criteria, stressor. A stressor is required. Any trauma must be there, only then we can have the case to be diagnosed as a case of post-traumatic stress disorder. So, this stressor can be in the form of the person being exposed to death or threatened with death or actual or threatened serious injury or actual or threatened sexual violence in any of the following ways. So one stressor we require for classifying this disease. It can be a direct exposure. It can be witnessing the trauma, or it can be learning that a relative or close friend was exposed to the trauma. It may not be like you have been inflicted with the trauma. It can be your friend has told you the story, but you were the one who were affected by even listening to it or just by seeing it. So, indirect exposure to aversive disease of the trauma, usually in the course of professional duties, that also can develop. So, out of these criteria, one is essential. Now, talking about the next criteria B, the intrusion symptoms. So, for that, the person has to persistently re experience the trauma. Trauma has happened in the past, but the person is having re experience of those symptoms that have happened earlier. It may be in the form of unwanted, upsetting memories. It may be in the form of nightmares. It may be in the form of flashbacks, or it can be an emotional distress that happened due to after exposure to traumatic reminders. It can be like, for an example, if the person thinks, has thoughts about that particular trauma, and then there is palpitation, then there is breathing is very rapid. So that physical reactivity also can be one of the symptoms you need to identify in a particular person. Emotional distress may be there. The patient re-experience this in his mind, starts weeping or gets irritated. So any form of emotional distress. So you have to identify those intrusion symptoms, and one of these will do the job. The criteria C is avoidance. When the person is trying to avoid anything, maybe trauma related thoughts or feelings, or anything that is trauma related external reminders. If the person, supposing if the person has had a trauma, maybe they had a car accident. So the person is not going for any car journey or is avoiding to travel in a car. So that avoidance can also be included in this particular part. Avoiding anything, any reminder, any memory relating to the trauma, that will come under this particular category. And it can be feelings or thoughts. Next is criteria D, in which at least we need to have two of the symptoms from this particular criteria. So any negative alterations in cognitions and mood. Like here I have mentioned, inability to recall key features of the trauma, overly negative thoughts and assumptions about oneself all over the world. I'd seen a patient who just thought that I am not worthy of anything. My life is just not worth it. I'm good for nothing. So these are certain negative thoughts that develop in that patient after witnessing a particular trauma. So when you have these thoughts, or the person thinks of suicide, or the person has everything negative about maybe others, you are bad, you have done this, so those particular things also form under this negative alteration. And I continue with this criteria D. So exaggerated blame of self, blaming self for everything, or maybe blaming others that you are responsible for everything that has happened. And negative effects it can have on your mind, your body. Decreased interest in activities, the person was very interested in a particular hobby, stopped doing that particular hobby. Why? Because the interest in life, interest in self has gone. Feeling isolated, I'm alone in this world, I don't have any friend, I don't have any person to share my beliefs. So this is the feeling of isolation that you will find in patients. Difficulty in experiencing any positive effect, you're full of negativity. So any of the two criteria out of this, then you can classify it as a case. Next are some other criteria. Criteria E, that is alteration in arousal and reactivity. So it can show in the form of irritability or aggression in the particular person. Risky or destructive behavior. The person tries to destruct himself or others that are there. Hyper vigilant, heightened starter reaction. You just shock when something happens. When the door opens, the person suddenly is startled. There is no need to startle it in your home, but that person becomes more vigilant. Difficulty in concentrating in anything, difficulty in sleeping. This generally happens with patients. They're not able to control their mind and they are not able to sleep. They may have nightmares, they may have flashbacks. Next is criteria F. So if you have all those criteria and the symptoms have lasted for more than 1 month, then you can classify. Next is criteria G, that is functional significance. If those particular symptoms, everything is having a toll on your social life, in your work related life, or your home life, it is causing distress. So then it can be categorized in the criteria G. And last but not the least is the exclusion criteria, where these symptoms are not related due to some medicines the person is taking and not due to any substance abuse or other drugs that the person is taking or are due to any other illness. So that has to be excluded in order to classify as a case of PTSD. So now let's start with the first case. I would like to share here. I had presented this case somewhere, and a very, very famous homeopath. He is basically an international teacher. So I was allocated 10 minutes of my time for a particular case of PTSD. So that the teacher gave a very brilliant feedback to me. See, when you have paucity of time, you're not able to share your uh, particular case in a proper manner. So I got that feedback. So he was not convinced that it is a case of PTSD. That is why I got ample time here, thanks to IPH, that in this particular thing, I am also focusing on how I classified this as a case of PTSD, not as some other case, which I'll show you, which it was looking like, but it turned out to be PTSD. So let's start right away. Now, a 40-year-old female came to our center with a complaint of irregular and profuse menstruation, which lasted for 7 days since 10 months. So, looking at this particular symptom, does it seem as a case of PTSD? No, it didn't seem. So, she had the problem of irregular menstruation and profuse menstruation, which now lasted for 7 days. Now, what she said, I'm feeling weakness in my body, and I think it is due to the blood loss because it is now continuing for 7 days. So, I'm having a lot of menstruation, so I am feeling weakness in my body. Now, she was a well diagnosed case of left ovarian cyst and uterine fibroid. She always had regular menstruation after 30 days, which lasted for 4 days. So, for the past 10 months, this particular person is having the problem, and otherwise, she had a regular cycle after 30 days, and it was only for 4 days. Now, as you can see, this is the report, ultrasonography report of the patient. She has a left complex ovarian cyst, which is of the size 54 into 30 millimeter. And she also has a uterine fibroid, which is of the size 24 into 22 millimeters. Those were the complaints she basically came with. But we as homeopaths, we want to probe deeper always. So these were some other things that we were able to find out during consultation. So she also complained of sleeplessness since the past 1 to 2 years. She also had the problem of profuse perspiration. This we were also able to identify after looking at her. So this perspiration was more aggravated by after exertion. She used to tell us like, I'm able to cook meals for my children in the morning, fine, but in the evening I have more problem. And whenever I try to work, if I'm in the kitchen or if even I'm doing small petty tasks, I have lot of perspiration, and she always felt worse by perspiration. Now this is her personal information. She was a housewife, and she said like it was my choice. I wanted to be a homemaker. And she told about like 10 years ago she got married, and before that she was a district level chess player. And before marriage, like she decided to become a housewife, and she left her sports career. She had three children of the ages 9, 5 and 3 years old. They were born through normal delivery. And she also felt like she was the most loved child in her family, because she was the youngest. And every person used to have affection for her in her family. Now this is the husband's attendance remarks. So her husband worked at a reputed private sector bank in a rural area, and he used to travel a lot for work on a regular basis. Now, her husband informed that she gets irritated easily, and especially when I speak to her or ask her anything, very small matters, she gets irritated easily. And before marriage, she was a very fun-loving, cheerful, relaxed person, but now she has changed drastically. Now he said that she loved going on vacations earlier, but now it seems that she had lost interest. Now, these are the things we, as homeopaths, always focus on: what has happened, what are the changes in your life, how your mental level is changing, or your mental thoughts are changing. Uh, he also explained that her sleep was disturbed with frequent nightmares and palpitations. So, this is what was happening, but she came to us because of the problem of period menstruation she was having. Now, this is her medical history. She has had a history of recurrent cold and tonsillitis in childhood. And she on and off takes sedatives because she's not able to sleep well. Her mother was having the problem of asthma, and her father had hypertension. And the brothers, as you can see, one brother had allergy, one had tuber- tuberculosis, and her sisters had the problem of dysmenorrhea, diabetes, and piles. Now this female was a medium statured female with the height was 5'2", and her body weight was 88 kg, and she was wearing a traditional attire like sari, and these are the vitals. Now she was a fair complexioned female, and discoloration was pale yellow. And like her, I told you the weight was 88 kgs and 5'2" was the height. So she was a medium built obese patient. Now her speech was very well articulated. Whatever questions we were asking, she was giving answers in a very nice manner, and they were well articulated. She seemed to be very cheerful during her questioning. But there were certain questions which we asked and she was trying to avoid, that were related to her emotional state. And at places, we did feel that she was trying to just answer in a diplomatic sense, not probing or telling us what actually the answer was. This we as homeopaths can sometimes judge, but it's not always true. And during our consultation, we found that she was also getting irritated as her husband has also stated, like she was irritated at trifles. And she was also absent minded at times when we had to ask her questions twice or thrice because suddenly she used to be absorbed in a thought. Now, this is what we understood while looking at this case at this juncture. So, the negative emotional state seemed to be there predominantly, with mood swings were there, but still she was predominantly appearing to be cheerful, and her short term memory was weak. So, what homeopathy has to offer in such cases, in such cases relating to PTSD or mental disorders? Homeopathic medicines are safe, they are gentle, they are non toxic, there are no side effects of homeopathic medicines. They are based on what the person is feeling as a whole, not only on the physical level, but also on the mental level. So it's based on holistical principles. And when we administer medicines, they also significantly enhance the psychotherapeutic process. And it is ideally best for as compared to conventional medicines because homeopathic medicines, they are non-addictive and they help the body to heal itself. So this was what we had to offer her. And for such psychosomatic cases, there is also a protocol we all homeopaths use. We identify the constitution, the temperament of the patient, what are the causative factors, the peculiar mental states, the characteristic physical generalities, the modalities, what were the particular symptoms, what was the detailed personal family treatment history, the miasmatic profile of the patient. This is what we do. But before this, let me come to the point. Now, looking at the case at this juncture, so what are the things that we can identify? First of all, if we talk about the diagnostic criteria, so criteria A, whether there was a stressor or not. So in this particular case, we cannot classify it as a case of PTSD as of now. Why? Because we were not able to find the trauma. So the particular symptom A was not there, the criteria was not there. If we talk about the criteria B, intrusion symptoms, yes, we could find some, like the person was re-experiencing those events in the form of nightmare she was having during sleep. So this criteria was there, but the first criteria, that is the essential one, wasn't available. Now the next criteria, criteria C, that was the avoidance criteria. This criteria was also present, that I specified that the particular person was avoiding questions. They were giving diplomatic replies. They were not giving questions that were basically related to the emotional state of the person. Then, if we talk about criteria, next criteria, criteria D, that is about moods or negative alterations. So the person was having negative thoughts. The person had lost the interest in the hobbies that he used to pursue. Like in this particular case, it was like she used to like to go to vacations, but she's lost that interest. Next, talking about the next criteria, criteria E, that is alteration in arousal and reactivity. So we could find that this particular patient was very irritable. The sleep was also disturbed. So these are certain things that respond to that particular category. Now, talking about criteria F, where we have the duration of trauma you have experienced for 1 month. So this doesn't apply in this case because we do not know whether there was a trauma or not as of now. Next was the criteria G, the functional impairment. Yes, the functional impairment we do not know as of now. We will see that later on whether it was not or there or not. And last but not the least, criteria H, that is exclusion. She didn't have any other history. She was not on any drugs that were causing these symptoms. So as of now, looking at these criteria A to H, they are not complete. So it is clear cut, not a case of PTSD as of now. But let's see what happens next. So we repertorize this particular case. The sleep was disturbed. Sleep was disturbed by nightmares. in the form of palpitations. There was irritability, profuse perspiration was there. It was more in the evening, and other there are other things also I have mentioned here. So next slide, I will show you. So here we chose a dose of sulfur 1 m was given to the patient, and it was followed by placebo. And she was advised to go on a morning walk and do some light exercise, because in these cases the person also has to heal physically as well as mentally. So we generally recommend a very good diet, a balanced diet, along with some light exercises. And in this case, breathing exercises were also advised, deep breathing, so that she is able to control her symptoms. And she was also, like I just said, asked to follow a nutritious diet. Now, why did we give sulfur 1 m in this particular case? So, we gave this antisoric medicine to help clear the case. We were not sure, but as homeopaths, we were able to judge there was something behind the curtain. So we didn't know what was there behind it. So we needed to see that. So we gave this particular remedy to clear the case. And because the patient's symptom susceptibility, mental symptoms were more prominent, so we chose a higher potency. So we gave her 1 m. In such cases, there is also a Hamilton depression rating scale that we use in cases, and like if they there's basically a questionnaire, then you have to indicate the responses according to that. So above 24, they indicate severe depression, and if it is between 17 to 23, it indicates moderate depression. 8 to 16, if the score is, it suggests mild depression, and 0 to 7, it indicates a remission or a normal depression. But in this case, it was pretty above 27. So it was severe depression she was having owing to that particular trauma. And if the rating is very, very high, then the person can even have suicidal tendencies. So what happened now after we gave her sulfur? This is the first follow-up. Now the patient's husband remarked that she was feeling better. So that's a good sign. We as homeopaths, we expect this to happen. She was feeling energetic. Earlier, she was telling like I'm having my periods are profuse, so I'm not feeling much energy. But now, after this, she was feeling energetic. Her perspiration was now reduced tremendously. So this was a sigh of relief for her, because she liked cooking and she liked to work for her children. So this she could now do very easily without having this particular problem. Her husband mentioned that she was not showing anger or irritation. Sorry. She was not showing anger or irritation, but was weeping often without any reason. So, this is what her remedy has done. She has not shown anger, not irritation, but started weeping. So, weeping disposition was even remarkable even while answering the questions. We could see that also, and the husband complained that also. So right now, we decided to give placebo thrice a day. That was continued. And the patient was asked to report alone for counseling after 5 days, because we thought there is something behind the curtain which wants to come out. Any untold precipitating factor might be there. So we wanted her to visit alone. So right now only we counseled the patient and asked her to report after 5 days. The patient expressed the desire to speak to us privately, but still she didn't utter a word. She kept crying and crying for half an hour. Just imagine, the person is not being able to speak, but just her emotions are coming out. She's venting in the form of tears. So she cried for half an hour. Again and again we insisted, and then after a while, she said that she wanted to rejoin her sports career. I had informed you in the beginning as well that she decided to stop her playing career, and she herself wished that she wanted to become a housewife. Now she says, I want to rejoin my sports career. And we had also advised certain physical exercises, but she did none of them, only deep breathing exercises she did. Now, after normal interaction for some time, we inquired her, like, why are you weeping? What is the reason? Why are you saying such things? I want to rejoin your career. It was your choice. You left it by choice. Now, why do you want to join it again? What's the reason? Now, here comes the thing. This is what sulfur has done to the case. This is what we wanted. This is what she's now disclosing. So now she disclosed the history that while she was preparing for a state level chess competition around 11 years back, she was sure to make it to the list of, because she was a top performer. But surprisingly, her best friend, whose performance was average, was chosen and she was dropped. She was shocked to learn about this. And when she was going to confront the coach regarding this thing, she caught her friend with the coach in a compromising situation. She was shocked to see this. She was disappointed with her friend that how could her best friend do this to her? So, this is what led to her situation. That time, her friend had requested her not to disclose the matter to anyone. And the coach even threatened her for the life. Now, this is here the trauma comes in. This is the trauma we have. So, now we have the criteria A that was essential to classify it as a case of PTSD. So, this is the trauma she faced. And being the good friend she was, she never discussed this issue with anybody. She decided to quit her career and got married a few months later. Till date, she didn't even tell her husband. So this was the level of confidence this has. Now let's again come to this case. Now can we classify it as a case of PTSD? Criteria A. So here the trauma was there. She saw that she was not selected. She was disappointed. She was shocked to see the her friend and the coach in that situation. She was threatened by the coach. So this all comprises about the criteria A in this particular case. Then what about criteria B? We have already seen she was having nightmares that were associated to this particular trauma. And criteria C, we already had overcome that she was avoiding situations, she was avoiding questions, she was avoiding such playing. She had stopped the playing. So that was also comprising under criteria D. And sorry, criteria C. Now, talking about criteria D, negative changes in the cognition and mood. She had lost interest in what things she used to do earlier. She used to like traveling. So, all that things she doesn't want to talk. She gets irritated easily. Now, it comes under criteria E. Uh, she got irritated easily. Her sleep was disturbed. So, everything changed owing to criteria A. Next criteria F, duration of the symptoms. 10 years have passed since she experienced this particular trauma and she's facing this problem. So, yes, it's not a month, it's more than 10 years. So, this criteria also is now fulfilled, which we can say. Talking about the functional significance, she left her particular career and she is now a mere housewife here in this particular case while she loved playing. So this also criteria G is also fulfilled and criteria H of elimination that was already here. So now looking at this particular case, now we can definitely classify it as a case of PTSD. Normally in our practice, we don't have much time. All of us don't have much time to delve deeper and deeper in every case. So we do all have failures as well. But then in this particular case, it was basically camouflaged as a case of ovarian cyst, uterine fibroid, but it was actually a case of PTSD. And we homeopaths, we have the habit of understanding the patient. So generally, our patients see, when we talk to you, half of our problems are solved. No doctor has spoken in detail about or asked certain questions to us. So half of the healing is done after consultation as such. Now, next, after this particular, the next follow up, these are the things that I had taken into consideration. Weeping involuntarily without reason since a week. Next rubric was frequent anxious dreams and weeps during sleep. and frequent dreams of killing friend with a knife since 3 4 years. She had those dreams that she's killing her friend with a knife. She never told us. Only after we had given the antisoric remedy did these symptoms come out. She dreamt of being accused always, and of being beaten in her dreams. Another unique symptom was she had the dreams of having cancer, of this particular incurable disease. Irritability in the slightest manner matters. Her appetite was normal with 2 3 meals a day. Thirst was unquenchable. Now, she was a chilly patient. She had constipation followed by dry stool at times. Now we reprise the case again. She had the nightmares of killing the friend with a knife. She had weeping during sleep. She cried out during sleep, and irritability was there. She was very anxious. She had a lot of palpitation in her dreams. So all these things we repertorized, and now on the basis of individualization, for this particular case, we chose a dose of natrum muriaticum 1 ml, and it was followed by placebo. And supportive psychotherapy sessions were now also given for creating a positive attitude in this patient. She was asked to report after 15 days. She was so disappointed from her best friend. She developed this particular situation. She also had shock. Now, after the first follow up, her general condition was better. The patient expressed about her paroxysms of irritability without apparent reason, and supportive psychotherapy, which is very essential in such cases, it was given, and negative thoughts were tried to be avoided. And she was also asked to work on her hobbies, do something she likes to do, spend time or relax her mind. And breathing exercises were again also prescribed. Why? Because these things work and complement each other. So next time this changed, what happened? She brought her children. She became very familiar now. She was happy with her treatment. Her mental situation, her physical situation was getting better. So this time she brought her children and introduced happily to us. So we homeopaths, we are very satisfied. Now the patient is feeling better. Now the patient is more like a family to us. So she started expressing herself, which we wanted, which is what Natrum muriaticum 1M did to her. Now she expressed the wish to rejoin her sports career. See, earlier sports was her life. She never said that. But now it is coming. Now she had that desire to again join her sports career, and she wanted to have a balance between career and family. So the first step, she said that I have started physical fitness exercises at the gym. Her husband also was very happy, and she was feeling more energetic, and other psychotherapy was also continued. Now, after 5 months of treatment, she was feeling better. She had again resumed her chess activities. Everything was now normal. Daily routine was going on. Sleep was also sound now. She was feeling normal. Then, after 1 month, around 6 months, she took the treatment, and she stopped after 1 month of that. Now, let's discuss what happened after 3 years. Now, after 3 years, again, this patient reported with the same problem of disturbed sleep and nightmares, which were now frequent since the past 1 month. Her irritability, which was gone, now had increased and was aggravated after consolation and coercion. So, these are some new symptoms that we are seeing in the patient. She still had weeping disposition without any apparent cause, and even while dreaming, which was more. And anxious dreams were frequent now, which had disappeared. Her menstrual cycle was now normal. She was otherwise feeling normal, so these mental symptoms she had right now. So this was the latest ultrasonography she brought us. So she came earlier in 2018. This is the 2022. So that time she had the left-sided ovarian cyst. Now she's having a right-sided hemorrhagic cyst in the ovary. And last time she also had a uterine fibroid. So this is what we did again. We again repertorized the case. Some new symptoms also appeared, which we have also noted down. Now here we gave her a dose of natrum muriaticum 10 mg and supporting psychotherapy that was already we had prescribed. Now it was also given weekly. Now she reported with relief in all complaints. She was now able to sleep better. Nightmares were now gone. And she was developing a positive attitude towards self and surroundings, and she was followed on placebo. Now she started enjoying her play. She had already started last time. Then again, she had lost that excitement. She was more irritated. Now the irritation has gone, and she started enjoying chess again. She's feeling more positive. And repeat ultrasonography was done to assess the situation. And I think she took again treatment for 4 months. Here you can see the right hemorrhagic cyst has also disappeared. This is the latest thing we have. Now, here in this case, I would like to say that PTSD is not a thing which can resolve very easily or very early. So, you need to take a long term treatment so that you are able to live peacefully with your trauma. Because trauma is a thing which causes stress to you or distress to you. So, maybe in this particular case, the patient needed to wait a bit more because she had just started playing her hobby again, chess, and then again she developed those symptoms. She stopped treatment. So in these cases, what we have seen is a long-term treatment is required in most of the cases. So let us have a look at some of the medicines that are very nice for PTSD. Ignatia Amara. This remedy reminds me of a case. A patient had the complaint of migraine. He had the complaint since past 3 or 4 years. So this patient had visited all the leading doctors in our city and even some homeopaths as well, but he was not able to have relief in his migraine symptoms. So it was like a challenging case to us. So what we found in this particular case, this patient was the lone survivor of COVID from his ward. What he said was, everybody in my ward was dead owing to COVID, and I only was left. So I was feeling very sad, depressed. So he was feeling like, why am I alive? Everybody is dead. So we prescribed this particular medicine to, in that case of migraine, and one dose, and the patient was feeling tremendous relief. So Ignatia Amara is a very good medicine where you are sad, where you are disappointed, you have some history of grief. So this can really help PTSD cases as well. And when the sufferers has flashbacks of the events, so there is sadness, depressing feelings, weeping spells. So this remedy can also be prescribed in those cases. Next is another beautiful remedy, natrum muriaticum, which we had given in our particular case. So the patient was feeling much better after taking this remedy. Next is Kali phosphoricum, which is very helpful in cases where sleeplessness is there. You have excessive restlessness during sleep, and when the nightmares are also there. So this also helps in cases. Another beautiful remedy is Tafisagria. So this was prescribed to a child who was suffering from PTSD because of a very dominating father he had, and the father used to physically abuse him in childhood. So that particular child had grown up and he was having many problems. So this remedy, Tafisagria, which connected with his traumatic past, was able to do wonders in that particular case. So here, during anger outbursts, the sufferer tends to throws or breaks things. The patient can be violent as well. There can be worthlessness feeling or depression may be there. So this is a very beautiful remedy you can think of. Next is sepia. Herein, persons they become indifferent. They show an aversion to their family owing to any trauma they may have had. Even to friends, they do not like company which they used to like. So they also have weeping dispositions that are more frequent. They also have anxiety with fear, flushes of heat. So sepia can be thought of in those cases. And in cases where you have severe PTSD, so aurum metallicum has been proven to work wonders in those cases. The patient, they have self-destructive thoughts. They want to commit suicide, or they have suicidal thoughts. So in those cases, we can think of aurum metallicum, because they think that nothing is left. The future seems dark to them. So those cases, they respond really well to this particular remedy. Coffea cruda is also a very good remedy when there is sleeplessness that is associated with any trauma or any other distress. And this because of the mental activity, the patient is not able to sleep properly. In acute cases, we have also tried with Econite. Any panic attack, any anxiety that is related to any triggering of or reminder of the particular trauma. So this can be a very good remedy for this particular thing when they are having anxiety spells. So in those cases, this is highly useful. Another remedy is Nux vomica, which is very important remedy when the patient is very violent. They get angry. They are very irritable, and they get angry even without provocation. They are very restless. They have a lot of desires for stimulants. So in those particular cases, we can also think of Nux vomica. And even in case of acute, we have belladonna. We do have sometimes prescribed for that as well. Opium is another very excellent remedy where the patient feels that he is sleepy but is unable to sleep. They feel that the noises are coming from far away, and they may also develop fear after the fright. So this is another remedy that which we can think of in such cases. So thank you very much. I think I'm done with my PTSD cases. So well, looking forward to your comments as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any questions? Is there someone who'd like to ask any questions? Okay, ma'am. That was an insightful session about PTSD, which you have taken. And I guess it is quite common these days. Nearby my institution is the National Research Institute for Mental Health in Homeopathy. And there also, I've seen even some cases we have discussed. The doctors there have also talked to us about this PTSD and the overwhelming amount of cases that they are facing, especially from people who have had a history of domestic violence or chaotic childhood. And recently, I had heard a case where a girl about our age itself, 22 or 23, and that she has faced a fear of talking to strangers. It's also, I think, complicated with social anxiety disorder. She has had a trauma in her childhood, and that has contributed to this social anxiety disorder where she is unable to talk to anyone or face anyone. So I've seen cases like that, and I was also looking forward to the remedies, as you have said, ma'am, aurum metallicum and coffea, as well as in acute conditions for aconite and all. So it was a very insightful session. Thank you very much, ma'am, and thank
Yes,
you to all the members,
yes, we
participants.
can have we have some more minutes to go, so we can have a discussion once again.
Yes.
Anyway, Dr. Sapna Gupta, it's really a very good subject you have chosen here for discussion, and really excellent presentation also. The medicines you suggested were really common to most of the people the who may suffer from such disorders. Actually, the problem is that nobody thought that homeopathy can do it. Nobody is in the line of thinking that homeopathy can do this much of things for this post stress disorders.
Traumatic
And
stress disorder.
yes, traumatic disorders, of course. And we have a lot of remedies. For example, we can even think of arnica, because arnica has a tendency. Then when if somebody has some problem, he may not be able to take medicine for that. He just ignore. Oh no, it will go. It will go. But the wound or the wound in the mind will remain as same as what it has happened some days back. So Anika can be think of in such cases also. That was the only that was the remedy you might have missed here. I think Dr. Bob Lim is there. Dr. Bob, Miss Dr. Laura, do you want to speak?
Oh,
Yes.
I'm Bob Malaysia, and today is a very interesting session about PSTD. So, and it's only mainly based on basically on the mental symptoms. Then only we find the matching remedy. And today's webinar is very good. Our doctor, she's very experienced, and she covered up very well from the basic to the treatment protocol for her body. And once again, from Malaysia, I say our great gratitude and thank you to tonight's webinar.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Jolie, you want to speak? Dr. Jolie, what's your suggestion to this session? Yes.
This is really a very deep insight to the mental traumas. Our beloved doctor, we have informed us that we have to explore the mind of each and every patient. Then only we are always we are discussing that the mind is the first and the last object we have to explore, and each and a problem affects each and every person in different manners, we are already told. And but fortunately the homeopathy has such good but effective medicines which are based upon the mental derangements. The post trauma, we should analyze, and that my mental symptoms, where that mental symptoms is we have to detect whether it is in a psoric miasm or the mental state attains syphilitic or mental state attaining psychotic. That is the skill of a physician. And where that mind is in each and every patient, in the mental state, which is in SORA, which is in syphilis, or which is in psychosis. So, and the wonderful remedies our doctor discussed, Dr. Danesh discussed about and gave us the arnica, one of the major traumatic reliever. This is a major traumatic reliever, is it not, sir? So I am concluding, and thanks for giving such a wonderful section, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. That was all for the session today. I would like to conclude this wonderful webinar by Dr. Sapna Gupta. And a quick reminder that in case you have missed any of our sessions, we have a YouTube channel, IFPH Talks, and our daily webinars are being uploaded there. Thank you for your valuable time. Good night. Handing over the session to the Malayalam webinar of IFPH.